Hey guys, I know it's already a few days past, but Happy New Year. Welcome to 2020. I hope this year is just memorable for you, really. And this is a video series called 52. I'm gonna try and put out one encouraging video each week for 52 weeks, that's 1 year. And this is week number 3. And this is the third time I've filmed this video this week because I was outside a few days ago. I'll show you some film of it. Man, it was just beautiful. The frost in the trees was awesome, but it was super cold, and my phone it froze within minutes, so the video didn't last. So anyway, I'm outside anyway, and thought I would film here. So it's a new year. I want you to think about this new year, and usually people think about resolutions or making predictions about the year. I've heard some on the radio already predicting about trends and what's going to be in style and when popular, and lots of people predict about their own life. What's the next year going to look like for my life, and is it going to be good or bad? And so I want to talk a little bit about that, not so much what your predictions are, but what kind of predictor you are. And so you might have heard of the words optimism and pessimism. I want to talk about those words. So an optimist is usually somebody that's positive thinking, and they're embracing challenges, and it's going to be great and success, and the year ahead is going to be just wonderful, and so they've got this positive mindset. And then the pessimist usually has words as like it's a negative outlook or doom and gloom. I think those are pretty strong words. That's not really how I think of pessimism. I think of pessimism like somebody that is aware of potential problems, potential difficulties, and those things come to mind first. That's what I think of as a pessimist. And so both have their strengths and their challenges. So if I'm overly optimistic, that could be a bad thing. I could jump into things without thinking and get myself into trouble. I could hurt myself physically, or financial difficulties if I'm not planning and thinking and seeing everything clearly. An optimist sometimes can sometimes stretch things and almost like they can see something in their mind and they start to picture it and it becomes reality. They start to talk about it and describe it, and sometimes those things become true, but they're not true. It becomes true in their mind but not in reality. And so sometimes optimists have trouble with not telling the truth all the time. And sometimes optimists are just annoying. I have a lot of negatives for optimism because that's me, right? Sometimes you can just be overboard. You're just annoying around people. And so those are the problems with optimism. But it is good to be optimistic, right? To embrace challenge and try something new. And yeah, just usually you can deal with stress from the world if you're an optimist. And so obviously there's problems with pessimism as well. You can pull away from the world and not really want to do some of the challenges or opportunities, and if you pull away too far, you can get into some negative thoughts and depression as well. But it's also sometimes helpful to be pessimistic, to look at the situation and find those problems and potential difficulties and be aware of them. Also, lots of times pessimist people are able to handle criticism better because they've already been thinking in that direction, and so the criticism is just easily handled. So those are some strengths to more of a pessimistic approach. We need balance. And that's what this video is about. It's about figuring out who I am and making sure I don't get too far in one direction or the other. And so if you can think of like a spectrum, like maybe a rectangle right here, and so we got optimism and pessimism, you know what? If you're at extremes, if you're at one side, really extreme one way or the other, I think you need to go beyond this video. This video is not going to be enough for you. If you're at the extreme ends, you're going to need some professional care and professional help. But I'm talking about figuring out where you are on that spectrum and just being able to navigate, control, not get too far this way, keep things in check. And that's what I want to talk about today. And so I want to start by being careful with our mind and our thoughts, because sometimes we think, I might be a pessimistic person and I want to change that. I wish I wasn't, and you kind of get mad at yourself. And you can't change yourself. You can't change your personality that well. It's very difficult. And so you can think of it like curly hair. If I have really curly hair, I might say, oh, I wish my hair was straight. I don't like my curly hair. And you can treat it, you can manage it, you can do things to it, but if you let it go natural, it's going to go curly again. And so that's kind of the way this is. This video is not about changing who you are. It's about managing and navigating and balancing things. And so I think we should stop apologizing for who we are and feeling sorry for ourselves. That's who we are. We just kind of work with it. Okay. Strategy number 1. I think we should think about our friends and think about which, are they generally pessimistic or generally optimistic? And it's not very nice to label people. We got to be careful with that. And you're never going to be 100% accurate either. I don't know if you've read the Harry Potter books, but there's this great line in there where Sirius Black says to Harry Potter, "The world isn't split between good people and Death Eaters." And so that's the same here. It's not going to be a black and white, you're 100% this or that. You might be optimistic about your own life and maybe pessimistic about the direction of the country and things like that. So we got to be careful when we label our friends, but it is good to know kind of in general who's more optimistic and who's more pessimistic, and use that to my advantage. Like, number 1, I need to make sure I have a nice balance of friends, right? So that, because I understand my friends are going to rub off on me. Optimism and pessimism are contagious, so my friends rub off on me. So I want to make sure I have a nice balance of friends, and I want to use my friends. It doesn't sound very nice, but I want to use them and allow myself to be used. So if I know that I'm kind of in a pessimistic mind frame, I want to talk to somebody that's optimistic, or vice versa. And it might be as simple as moving at work. I know at lunch, if I go and sit over here, I'm going to be hearing some pessimistic things. If I go sit over here, I'm going to hear some optimistic things. And so understanding what your friends are like can help in that situation. And then obviously you need to turn it to yourself, right? What feeds my optimism? What feeds my pessimism? Yes, my friends can feed that, but it could be things like movies, right? The things that I watch. You've probably watched a movie and after the movie you've started to repeat some of the things that the main character says, or think the same way as some of the characters in the movie. That's them rubbing off on you. And so you can what you watch can again feed your optimism and your pessimism, and things you listen to, music for example, and things you read as well, websites that you visit. All those things can feed our optimism and pessimism. Same with the stuff we eat, and our sleeping habits can do the same thing, right? If I have a personality trait and I want to keep it in check, if I'm pounding back Red Bulls for example, or something like that, or haven't eaten in a while, that personality sometimes it's just going to come bursting out of me because I'm kind of lacking that control. Same with sleep, right? If I haven't slept very well, that can just come bursting out. And so those are some physical things. You can also think about how an imaginary house, or on paper you can draw a house where it's got 3 rooms. And so you can think about the situation. All right, I'm thinking about my year ahead, or maybe you're analyzing a relationship that you're in, or your job. And you can have these rooms. So the first room can be a pessimism room, and go in there and write what's pessimistic about the situation, and then move to the optimism room and write about optimism, and then go to the third room. Maybe it's the peak at the top, and you can pull from both rooms and move things into that third room, and you can kind of say that's where I want to be, is up there in that, with a nice balance. So you can use rooms and a room analogy. You can also you can do some role playing. When I was in university, my drama instructor, I took a drama course. It was awesome. He made you analyze yourself and then act in the opposite way. So if you were an introvert, he asked you to act like an extrovert. And so you can do that with this as well. You can think of yourself as, maybe I'm being pessimistic right now, and you role play. You act and talk like an optimist. And you can even pull out your phone and do a voice recording and talk into that voice recording as an optimist or a pessimist, and then listen back and get some balance from that as well. So those are some physical strategies. There's also some mental things, and I'm really excited about the mental things. Mental health, I think, is kind of a cool topic because we can strengthen our mind, and that's going to help us be able to balance this optimism and pessimism. And so I want to make more videos about some of these things that I'm about to mention, and I've been talking to some of you about these things, and so I'm excited to get feedback from you guys as well and learn from you guys. Mindfulness is one that's pretty exciting, I think, where you're really present in what you're doing, and visualization, starting to visualize yourself in a certain way, and then meditation and things like that. So those are some mental things to make your mind healthy and strong so that you can balance the the optimism and the pessimism. That's the challenge this week, you guys. Just take a look at the year ahead and look at it in a nice healthy balance between optimism and pessimism. Hey, thanks so much for giving me feedback already, you guys, and I look forward to the weeks ahead. Thanks for watching. See you next week.